All right, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to talk about Tesla pricing predictions next year. I found definitely interesting articles, some tweets and all that stuff. And then of course, I'll talk about my thoughts on it and where I think the prices of new Tesla Model 3, Model Y, Model S, and X are going to go. And the spoiler alert or hint, what goes up might come back down. But before we get into that, let's roll my intro real quick. All right, so welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to another video. My name is Dennis, and I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on a Tesla at the best possible price, or just getting really good financing on your Tesla that's better than Tesla 5.34%. So if you're interested in any of that, please hit that subscribe. And today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description where you can support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. And shout out to my newest Patreon members. Thank you for the support, Tony R, Jose M, and Naveen T, which I actually had a call with today where we talked about some Tesla buying tips and all that stuff. Well, thank you for that. I greatly appreciate you coming in and supporting. But let's just jump straight into it. So this was actually an article that I found. Well, actually, Paul Fossey, he was actually followed me on Twitter and actually supported the channel as well. So thank you for that. He wrote this really interesting article and talks about outlook for Tesla budget buyers has changed radically and predicted to change even more. So I'll try and drop this into the comments, or actually I can drop it right now into the chat, right? Let's take a look. Does that work? Oh, perfect. Yeah. So take a look if you want to read along with me. But the TLDR is he kind of lists some reasons on why he thinks Tesla pricing is going to change next year due to macroeconomics and things like that. But here is kind of what he's sourcing, or basically saying is why it's going to affect Tesla and also Tesla pricing at the end of the day. So first reason is the economy has slowed down. And this is really because, like, we're in a quote unquote recession. Interest rates are up because of the Fed, and vehicle pricing. At the end of the day, we all look at, most of us, I mean, there's people out there that, crazy ball and just plunk down cash for a car. But most of us, myself included, I finance the vehicles. I look at monthly payment. I look at the interest. I look at all that stuff and summed up into it. Does this make sense monthly on a monthly time span for driving X vehicle? Like, is it going to save me gas, maintenance, all that stuff? I dive really into it for like the cost benefit analysis. Number two, the reason he said is production is ramping up in Shanghai, and those vehicles, also a production coming up from Berlin and Austin. There was a article that Tesla Austin or Giga Austin is going to ramp up production like crazy in Q1 and deliver like 75,000 vehicles in the first quarter. So that's going to have some effect for sure. Number three, competition, he says, as his increase in the US, China, and Europe. And that's a fact. Like pretty much every luxury OEM, Tesla, luxury pricing, maybe not luxury, is coming out with a competitor. Mercedes EQB, we looked at it, kind of a decent deal. Lexus has the RZ, Audi has the Q4. BMW doesn't have a pound for pound version in the Model Y segment, but the end of the day is a Cadillac Lyriq for a second. Like, I saw that car in person at the LA Auto Show, and I thought, like, wow, this is like a car. Like, it's big, wide, and also like a Tesla Model Y competitor. And the difference is with all these other competition, most of them have free charging, level 3 charging through Electrify America. Yes, Electrify America isn't as good, but it's still free at the end of the day for level 3 charging. Inflation Reduction Act was passed. Many of the changes take place on January 1st, but no one knows if the Tesla vehicles will qualify for this full 7,500. Yes, there's speculation that because the Treasury has delayed it, they might be eligible for the first quarter, and that's probably why Tesla has rolled out this $7,500 discount at the moment. But we still not are 1,000% sure. We're like 90% sure, but I feel like most of Tesla Twitter and the Tesla people out there reviewing stuff are like pretty sure. But, at the end of it, we don't know, and we won't know until January 1st. And there's a lot of other stuff. Great article from Paul Fossey. Definitely check him out if you're interested. But he concludes that basically all vehicles, the Model 3 will, come down in price, and the Model Y will see a greater change. So let's kind of dive into what he actually says, because this is interesting. So Model 3 is readily available for less than 40,000 with the 7,500 tax credit or credit. Then depending on how demand goes throughout the year, I expect Tesla to keep the entry price for the Model 3 after below 40,000 or lower it by $2,000 every few months until demand equals supply. So, I mean, Elon has come out and said he wants a cheaper Tesla. He thinks the prices are too high. And the fun fact with that is that Tesla prices used to be a lot lower. So if we factor in, back into that $7,500 tax credit, we might see a $25,000 Tesla, or at least close to it, like high 20s. So like this is a Tesla price history tracker. Someone has really excellently put this together that tracks all the brand new retail prices of all the models. And he also sources it on the right side with all the links. And you could see that when the standard range was first announced or came out in February of 2019, it was $35,000. So if we best case scenario, like best case for us, money in our pocket scenario, if they went back to a $35,000 price, that means that's a $28,000 give or take Tesla Model 3 after you factor in the tax credit and stuff like that. So I kind of agree that Tesla likes to test stuff, likes to pull on these demand levers, and they're not going to go straight back down to 35,000 immediately, but they're going to do it in increments, like just like how they've done it in the past few years. Like history kind of, they do have a pattern. They're just going to increase it maybe 1,000 or decrease it $1,500 at a time until it hits that sweet spot, especially for the Model 3. Because imagine if you can get a Model 3 for high 20s, 29,000, or even like low 30s for a brand new one, that makes it super compelling as a vehicle just because of the cost benefit analysis. Because most people I don't even know. I want to know now, what's the average, I guess we could calculate, what's the average price or amount people pay for gas every single month? And it's probably anywhere from $100 to $200. If you live in high cost of living areas like California, New York, that probably gets up to like $200, $300. And if you can get a Tesla Model 3 for basically $400, $500 a month, then the gas kind of pays for the car, which then pays for itself. And you kind of get the idea with that. So let's see when he takes a look for the Model Y. Model Y will see a greater change. I expect the entry-level price of the Model Y drop back down to $40,000. Just a few weeks ago when they entered the standard range rear-wheel drive, depending on how demand shapes from 2023, could fall down to $35,000 or even $30,000. I think that's aggressive. I like a $30,000 or a $35,000 Model Y, but I think the sweet spot for the Model Y, where we know the sweet spot for the Model Y long range was around that mid $55,000 mark. But if they come out with a Model Y standard range for under $50,000, can you imagine what type of that Tesla would basically own or get a lot more share, I would say, of the EV market? And I think at the moment it's already like 65-70% of all EVs are Teslas, but it's only going to get more crazier. But I mean, Alexis, I just saw you pop in. I bet this is music to your ears, but basically we're talking about how on this article from Paul Flossie that he's predicting Model 3 brand new pricing is going to get under $35,000, and Model Y brand new pricing is going to drop down to like that $40,000. I mean, of course, this is a long-term projection. I don't think this is going to be, January 1st, we're lowering the prices, but Tesla could, and I think they will. I think they will get back to, pre-pricing it before what it was, and they're going to do it in $1,000 to $2,000 increments throughout the months of the year. But let's think of it. Let's look at this, macroly, right? Like next year, 2023, we have a couple of key dates. January 1st, of course, brand new year. Maybe we'll get some more insight about the $7,500 tax rate. The next key date is going to be around January 26th, around that time frame, because that's the earnings call for Tesla for the Q4 day. Another key date is, I think, a week from now. This, as reported from Christopher Dungeon on Twitter, shout out to Chris Dungeon, Tesla will release Q4 production and delivery numbers 1 week from today on January 2nd. So that's where we're going to get some insight to see, did these, this $7,500 discount worked? Did we sell, $400,000 vehicles in Q4, or are there some weak, issues, maybe 389 or 390? Because that could be a sign that Tesla, could get aggressive in the next year. The other thing that came out recently is that Elon prefers volume sales versus margin. And so here's a tweet from Farzad Farziness. I thought it was pretty interesting. Quote, Tesla going zero profit max volume, which Elon basically said that he likes. He likes selling more cars versus selling more profit per car, and a severe recession has insane implications. This means a rear-wheel drive Model 3, $30,000 with EV incentives that has hardware to drive itself. And Tesla, Elon also did say on top of this that Tesla has the best margins, so they can stomach it. And we've kind of seen this because, they've raised prices like crazy in the past year. Now the Model 3 standard range is $47,000, but a year and a half ago, the Model 3 standard range was $39,000. So if we got back to that price and you factor in a $7,500 tax credit, like that could be super compelling for sure. And you can see, as we've seen in this past month, Tesla can do that on a whim. They can easily throw in $3,750. They can easily do a discount $7,500. They can easily discount the car $5,000-$10,000 just like that if they need to destroy and sell all vehicles, just like how they have with inventory charts for Model 3 and Model Y going to basically zero and starting a mad rush on the vehicles. And so there's always been talk about a Tesla Model 2 or Model 3 cheap one, but there's a couple spy shots that I saw on Twitter yesterday, like the Tesla Q not spy shots, concept shots. So creative people put together. But this looks like a pretty fun, cool car, right? Tesla Q, $25,000 reserved now. Can you imagine if they did this like next summer and all that stuff? Or like this one, here's a red version of that. I'd buy one or two from these couple tweets out there. Pretty cool stuff. But again, so let's think next year, throughout the months. January, the first quarter is always a stale quarter. It's winter. People don't want to buy cars. They spend all the money on Christmas. So March is usually a time when incentives are going to come flowing back because, manufacturers need to sell cars. So maybe Tesla kind of will have an inventory situation right then, but they can just pull that lever. Then we get into spring, summertime, people get their tax refunds back by April or before that. And people I like to call it, people get this like spring fever, so to speak, where they just have an itch to buy something. I certainly get it. I want to buy something every few months. We all get it, so to speak. And then comes summer, people are out and about. Everybody wants a nice car, driving around top down, whatever. And so there's that summer fever as well. Then back to school kicks in. People want to buy before their kids go to school, and then there's kind of this lull when school starts. Sales are still good, but they kind of dip down a little bit. And then we get into Christmas and winter time, which is usually the best time to buy a car because there's a lot of inventory, there's a lot of discounts. Dealerships want to hit their number and all that stuff. And we're kind of seeing the deals right now with Tesla. And this is repeated itself. Like 2-3 years ago, there was also deals on a Tesla, which is similar. So, that's kind of like looking at the future or of what's going to happen. So my prediction, what I actually think about Tesla, I was just basically showing like the Tesla earnings call at January 26th, which is going to give some insight. My prediction, I'm going to start with the S and the X because I like looking at the S and X because I like looking at, the charts that depreciate a lot, go up and down. I guess maybe not, but, the Model S, you can see, was raised like $25,000 from when the refresh was actually introduced in 2021, and then they raised from $80,000 all the way up to $105,000. I think we are going to get back to this pricing, probably not right away, but by the end of, I don't want to say 2023 by the end of it, but maybe like 2024 is where we're going to get back to pretty close. We're probably going to see $5,000 decreases at a time. But the other thing that's also interesting is like, what is Tesla's next vehicle? There could be a Cybertruck coming up. There could be the Model 3 Highland that comes up, and there could be a Tesla van that comes up. Of course, those are going to bring excitement to the brand and to those models. But, that also what that does is that decreases excitement for some of the older vehicles or, not as the new hot thing at the moment. So Model S, I think we're going to get back to that pricing. It might take us a year or two, but I certainly think that's coming. Model X, basically the same thing. Right now, the Model X long range or basic one is $121,000 and it was $90,000. So over $30,000 increase since January of 2021. We're going to get back there. It's going to take a year or two. Model 3, I can if we believe that Tesla is going to qualify for the Inflation Reduction Act, then that means that the long range has to be under 55,000. And if we need to build in options, colors, and all that stuff, then it has to be a couple $1,000s less than 55,000. And that's why I think Tesla removed it from their website. You can't order it. You can still buy one, but you can't order it. So that could be a surprise shocker. January 1st, Tesla changes the Model 3 long range to $53,000. And can you imagine if that actually happens? But I mean, that could happen very, very easily. I think the standard range, if they drop the long range down a couple thousand, then they'll probably kind of follow suit, but they don't have to for the Model 3 standard range, because as they see right now, $7,500 really can move the needle and sell out all their vehicles. Model Y, we kind of know what's going to happen, and it also was predicted in Paul's article, but Model Y standard range is going to come back into the market. Maybe, I want to say it's going to be about 57, 58. And then of course the Model Y long range 66, and then the performance will stay. But I think they're going to all come down $2,000 to $3,000 relatively quick within the first quarter. So I would say a $55,000 Model Y standard range, a $62,000 Model Y long range, and then performance, whatever. Like, I don't really actually follow that performance, but definitely some pretty interesting stuff. The next year for Tesla is going to get pretty interesting with price changes and price prediction. That's at least what I'm predicting. But let me know you guys' thoughts on that. What do you guys think is going to happen the next year? I mean, certainly it's probably going to go down, but we just don't know at what pace and all that stuff. But let's jump into some comments and some streams. But shout out to my Patreon members, and definitely if you want to